Complete connection on the first attempt. A 5-MeO DMT trip report by Psionic 1, uploaded to Erowid on September 28, 2004. I had read that 10 to 20 milligrams was a fully psychoactive dose, and was pleased to discover that it was possible to obtain 500 milligrams by mail for $175, so I placed my order. About a week or two later, a small package arrived from the southern US with my name on it. I opened the package to find a small wax paper envelope sealed in a mylar bag. Therein lay the object of my desire. I should preface the following with the fact that I have had a multitude of experience with psychoactive compounds, from LSA to Datura, nutmeg to MDMA, LSD, etc. And while all of these allies had their potential, there was always something missing from the experience. In retrospect, perhaps it was that I did not respect them as they apparently deserved. None of them had ever taken me beyond the known world to a point where I could not rationalise my experience, and for this I think I denied them their dues. Feeling a great amount of anticipation, I eyed the little yellowish crystals in the wax paper, almost with a sense of awe. Something about their very presence seemed powerful, as if they were trying to tell me something. I decided that there was no time like the present, and having read that nothing can really prepare you for what happens, I asked my girlfriend if she would make sure I was safe. She agreed to watch over me while I tried this new substance. I smoked a cigarette, I no longer smoke as of writing, and filled a pipe with ashes to buffer the melting crystals and stop, or at least slow their retreat from the flame and vaporization. In retrospect, I would not smoke beforehand, as I am not sure what effect this may have had on my experience. Looking at the pile of 5-MeO DMT, I noticed that there was a particularly large crystal, about the size of a blue-tipped match head, that was in with all the smaller crystals. I also read somewhere that the effective dose was about this size, so, lacking a scale, I went with that crude measurement. I gathered the crystal from the pile and placed it in the centre of the bowl of ashes. Looking at my girlfriend, who was also smiling and excited, I felt completely safe. The environment was warm, and I was in our bedroom. I felt that the setting was optimum, and that my set was positive and clear of subjective expectations. I took a deep breath, lit the lighter, and exhaled as completely as possible. Holding the flame to the crystal, I inhaled slowly, touching the flame to the yellowish chip until it sizzled and melted. I inhaled deeply and was pretty sure that I got all of it. 0 hours. I turned to set down the pipe, still holding my breath. I looked back at my girlfriend and noticed that her face was already starting to shimmer and become disorganised from itself. I exhaled. 5 seconds in. I felt a rushing sensation as though something was being forced into my body or spirit from somewhere unseen. I laid back on the bed and took another deep breath, almost as if to try and realign my senses. This was, of course, to no avail. By the time I was able to think about how I felt again, I was so high that it was a shock. It was all happening so fast that my brain could not wrap itself around 1 second's worth of experience before the next second came and was twice as intense as the previous one. 10 seconds in, eyes wide open. The real world was not at all within the reach of my senses. It had been almost instantly replaced by an undescribable, though I will try, world of rings within rings, spinning and rotating, seemingly constructed from multicoloured static and deep as the ocean is wide. It occurred to me at this moment, you have forgotten to breathe. So I took in a shuddering breath, still awed by the almost complete absence of anything familiar. I thought for a second that I might have overdone it. Okay, you're gonna die, you're gonna forget to breathe and suffocate. With that, I took another breath. This seemed to alleviate my paranoia somewhat, and as unbelievable as this is to me now, I think I decided that even if I was dying, it didn't seem like a terrible thing. I accepted mortality and relaxed. 15 to 30 seconds in, the rings faded into what I can only describe as an awareness of something else. This something else was big, and I mean huge, perhaps infinite. It was warm, and I felt as though it reached out and connected with everything. I became aware that this something else more than connected with everything. Rather, it was everything. I was everything. What is that? I became it, and it was everything. 30 seconds to 1 minute. Bliss. I am floating in a sea of warm energy. Little ripples would pass through me, and I would sense their rippling going on forever, into what I had now realised was infinity. I can sense other beings in this web of something else. They are happily floating here too, and perhaps unaware of their connection at all. It does not matter. It really is all good. 1 to 2 minutes. How could I have forgotten about this? Was the sensation that I felt, as if I was remembering something. I'd contacted a feeling that, while totally new to my current version of myself, was somehow familiar on a deeper level, almost as though it was a déjà vu. Of course. It was almost a silly feeling, as though I was so stupid for having forgotten that all of this was one thing, that even in the word universe lies the direct implication of singularity. All is one. These thoughts were not formed as common thoughts like, I want a cup of coffee or I'm going to take a shower. They just were. Almost like a smell that takes you back to your grandmother's house when you were just a little kid. They just were. 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, I'm coming back now. I can't see the room and I just want to stay in that place. When I relax and close my eyes, which I was later told were open for the above 2 minutes, I can easily drift back to that connected feeling. I decide to linger there for a little longer. 5 minutes in, I am elated. So excited that I've finally broken through. I start to try and explain and find that I really still cannot talk. I can see my girlfriend. She's smiling, anticipating what I have to tell her. I must have looked so high for the last few minutes. I exhale a deep breath and it sounds like I'm on nitrous. A spring reverb echoes around the sound of my exhalation. I realise that the room is filled with quick-moving hallucinations, and it dawns on me that this, the after effects, is 10 times harder than a 2 to 3,000 microgram LSD trip. I take another breath and try again to focus on baseline reality, whatever the hell that is. 10 minutes in. I'm still very high, nowhere near where I was 10 minutes ago. I'm amazed and begin to explain to my girlfriend what happened while I was inside of that feeling. She relates to me what happened while she watched from the outside. 30 minutes in. Feeling almost normal. Still some fuzzy LSD-like touches here and there. A brightness to things. Feeling a little nausea as well. 45 minutes. The slightest hint of a high hangs on. Just enough to feel like I am in the first 25 to 30 minutes of an LSD trip. A light buzz, and nausea has completely faded. 60 minutes in. Sober, but changed. I feel like I've held the truth in my hand, and then sat with it for a while. It was inviting, not at all like I assumed. Truth is comforting, albeit perhaps subjective. After effects. Honestly, there was nothing notable. Looking back though, I feel like I was held back by the lack of breathing at the beginning. If I could go into this with the knowledge of that problem, I feel as though it would not be an issue. Subsequent experiments proved this to be correct. Otherwise, the after effects were all on my consciousness. I've long been a believer that everything relies on everything else for balance and survival. This experience put me directly in contact with that reality. I will never forget the lesson that I have learned. Whether 5-MeO-DMT is responsible for it or not, I decided to start taking better care of myself at that point. Quit smoking, exercise, break free of unhealthy relationships, etc. In conclusion, I believe that in the proper setting, with advanced education about the experience and with the support of competent guides, this substance could profoundly impact the course of humanity. It has given me a respect for all things and their place in the world, that was there previously, but not at all reinforced by experience in my life before this experiment. Caution. I would not recommend this for solo trips. I have since guided people with this substance, and have seen some weird responses to the fast onset, like getting up and trying to walk away. This is not good when you are not in touch with everyday reality and under the influence of a major psychoactive chemical. Oh yeah, after all this I was shocked at how many of these experiences I could potentially have. 500 milligrams divided by 20 milligrams equals 25 mind-blowing trips at about $7 each. So I gave some to responsible friends and dosed a few other people, figuring that sharing this experience was more valuable than hoarding it. Go with care and respect for yourself, your ally, and the universe.